Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Mini Clinics with Mitch. My name is Mitch Braley. I'm a member of Racquetball Canada's National Development Team, coming to you from my basement on behalf of Racquetball Canada. And this week, we're going to be talking about something that is very important to the sport of racquetball and to becoming a better racquetball player, but I think is often overlooked or not talked about, and that is grip strength. So, what is grip strength? Pretty plain and simple. As a definition, it's how much force your hand is exerting on an object to hold it firmly and securely. So in our case, we're talking about holding and gripping a racket handle. And this is going to be affected by the muscles and tendons in your hands, your fingers running up through your forearms, up into that elbow region. And like I mentioned during that introduction there, it's often overlooked, but doing exercises with dumbbells and weightlifting anyways is going to help strengthen your grip, but targeting it directly is a better way to get results faster. And we're also going to talk about not just grip strength in your hand, we're going to talk about your general wrist and forearm strength as well, because those are all going to be contributing factors for the purposes of what we need in the sport of racquetball. And what we all care about, why is having a strong grip important in racquetball? Well, we always want to make sure we're making solid contact with the ball. You don't want to be white knuckling your racket handle per se, but you don't want it to be flimsy either. So just really solid, firm contact. And this is going to allow for better execution and power on shots where you're on the run and can't set your feet. So if you're swinging, a lot of times you're just able to flick your wrist, or if you're trying to return a drive serve that's coming at you quickly, stepping over and having wrist strength and forearm strength is going to allow you to hit better shots. If you watch Kane as the prime example, best player in the history of the sport, if you look at how quickly he snaps his wrist through the ball and how powerful he is to throw his forearm, you can see that he makes a ton of shots when he's off balance, not necessarily in the perfect position to hit the ball, and a lot of that is because he has super strong grip and super strong forearms. So it's just going to help you control and return shots that are out of the air as well, because the racket's not going to be loose in your hand. If you think about it, if you're trying to cut off a shot or hit a soft shot, if you're hitting it and the racket is getting knocked backwards, now you're not able to control where the ball is going, versus if it's firm and solid, then you have a much better chance of directing the ball where you want it to go. And stronger forearm muscles can also help prevent some elbow soreness and injury, and that's common in any racket sport. So if we can find ways to prevent that, all the better. So the first exercise we're going to look at is really, really simple and requires only one single piece of equipment that most of you should have at home, since this is a series about improving at racquetball, and that is a racquetball. This is called the Racquetball Squeeze, and really all I'm going to do with it, and it's a good warm up to some of the exercises we're going to look at in the next few minutes here, is I'm just going to take the ball. I can grip it a couple different ways. I can grip it fully within my palm, or more so that the tips of my fingers are digging in, and I'm just going to squeeze it. I can either do for a number of reps, 10 reps, 15 reps, change my grip up here, and you'll notice as you start to do it, it's really going to start to burn within your forearm, but also within your fingers, within your palm, within the back of your hand. You can even do an isometric hold with it, so just basically squeezing it as hard as you can for 10, 15, 20 seconds and build that time up. Tennis ball works great too. It's a little bit bigger, has a little bit more resistance, so it's going to be a little bit more challenging to use than a racquetball. If you don't have a racquetball at home for whatever reason, or any other sort of ball that you think might work, even a ball of tape. I have some green painter's tape here. I can make it a little bit bigger, but even just to squeeze that is a really good start, and a super basic, simple exercise you can do sitting at your desk. Between take a break doing some work, or if you're sitting watching TV, or just lounging about in the backyard, it's something you can do. Just keep a racquetball, keep a ball on hand, and you'll definitely start to notice a difference within a few weeks. Next up, we have super creatively named wrist rotations. And what I'm going to do here, if you have any dumbbells at home, I don't have any dumbbells. I got kettlebells, but they don't really work too well for this exercise. But I have there's a 5-pound medicine ball. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take it, I'm going to extend my arm out in front of me, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my wrist I can start slow if I want, or I can really pick up the reps and really get that burn going. But I'm just turning my wrist as far as I can in either direction. I'm really going to start to feel that after even 10 reps all throughout my forearm, throughout my wrist. This is working my grip really well too, just because I have to hold on to it. It's a bit of an awkward shape. If you don't have anything like that at home, no medicine balls, no dumbbells, etc., even something as simple, I have here a jar of sliced beets, which I think is really good for digestion, but there's a little bit of weight to it. So if you have a can of soup, a jar of beets yourself, Bix, not going to pay me for the plug, but I'm going to extend that out in front of me and I'm just going to rotate it in front of myself. And even having a little bit of weight, it doesn't take much after a number of reps to really start to feel it all throughout that forearm. And again, I'm just doing my right hand for the sake of brevity and getting the videos done, but always good to balance it out and either have a couple of jars of beets or be switching up and making sure that you're keeping things even between your dominant hand, in this case my right hand, my right arm, and of course your non-dominant hand, for me be my left. So just keep things balanced, keep things equal. Next up, and you're going to keep my jar of sliced beets with me for this one. And again, a dumbbell is probably the best option for this if you have them. But these are just what we call wrist curls. So I've got my arm placed on my knee, on my leg. I got my palm facing up for the first variation. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to curl with my wrist. So I'm not getting, I'm not bringing my forearm up at all like a bicep curl. I'm just isolating that wrist. And I'm really going to start to feel it here on the top side of my forearm. And then after that, the variation is I'm going to face my palm down with my jar of beets. And same thing, I'm really isolating my wrist and I'm just turning that wrist upwards. And again, just like the wrist rotation or any exercise, I'm making sure to balance it between my right arm, my right hand, and my left hand. Another terrific exercise, and the beauty of it being that you don't need any equipment, so you can do it if you're sitting at your desk, taking a quick break from work, or sitting on the couch, even at the dinner table, before dinner, after dinner, is Goose Necks and reverse Goose Necks. And what I'm going to do is I can keep my arms in front of me straight, but it's easier to show it with the camera angle here just to have them bent upwards. So with the Goose Necks, I have my hands in a loose closed fist. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend them downwards and squeeze as hard as I can, envisioning that I want the bottom of my fist here to touch the underside of my wrist, which obviously nobody's capable of doing. I'm squeezing as hard as I possibly can to try and make that happen. And by squeezing hard, I'm going to feel it really work the inside of my forearm, right in where the hand meets the forearm, and then all the way down throughout as we approach the elbow. I can do it for reps. 10 is probably a really good maximum because it does burn them out quickly. You're going to feel it right away. Or I could do more of an isometric type hold for a maximum of, we start with 5 or 6 seconds, then work up to 10. But once you get to 10, it's going to be hard to get maximum return on them because you are going to find that your ability to flex that is going to weaken really rapidly. And reverse Goose Necks, as the name implies, I'm going to have my palms open, but now I want to touch the back of my hand. Envision touching the back of my hand to my forearm here, which is physically impossible, at least for me, and maybe 99% of people. But again, I can do it for reps. So I'm just squeezing and flexing at that point where I can go no further, feeling that burn right in throughout my forearm on the top here. And then I can do it as more of an isometric hold as well. 5, 6 seconds, 10 seconds, probably the max, because you're going to start to feel that ability to flex weaken quickly. And even doing that 3 times a week, just a couple of minutes is all it takes really. And you're going to get the benefit right away. You're going to notice your arms and your hands are fatigued when you're trying to type or to write or open a jar of sliced beets. But terrific, simple, quick to do exercise, and you'll see a real improvement in your forearm strength in only a matter of a few short weeks and months. So the Goose Necks are great for targeting our forearms, both the top side and the bottom side. And now we're gonna look at a couple exercises, wrist circles and palm touches that are great for working our wrist right where the forearm meets the hand, not so much up in the forearm area. So the goose necks are terrific for working the forearm. And now we're gonna look at a couple exercises that are gonna work on strengthening the wrist and then the palm and the fingers. So for the wrist, we're gonna do something called wrist circles. And I'm just going to keep my hands out in front of me, basically get open palm. And what I'm going to do is curl them inwards. And I'm going to do a circular motion with them. But as I'm doing that, I'm squeezing as hard as I can. And what I mean by that is when I'm at the bottom side here, I'm squeezing sort of like the goose necks. Envision that I want to touch the base of my palm to the underside of my wrist here. So I'm not just doing really loose circles as if I was trying to warm them up. I'm really stretching them and flexing them, for lack of a better way to describe it, as hard as I can the entire way, doing it nice and slowly. I'm going to do about 10 in one direction, and I'm going to turn it around and do it in the other direction. But really important to remember, it's not just a really quick warm-up exercise, but you are squeezing the whole way, doing it slowly, and you're feeling it right within your wrist. Apologies if my description isn't the best. And for palm touches, this is super easy to describe and easy to show. I'm going to have my fingers extended, and I'm going to start with a 1 rep on each finger. I'm going to basically touch the tip of my finger of each of them and try and touch them to the center of my palm. So I start with my pinky. As I'm doing it, whatever finger I bring down, I want all the other fingers to remain up. So if I'm doing my pointer finger, for instance, I don't want all my fingers coming down because that isn't going to work anything. So while I do my pointer finger, I want to keep all my other fingers in place as best I can. And that works the muscles throughout the forearm again, the finger, the palm. You can feel the tendons moving as well. And do 1 on each finger. And I'm going to do 2. And then up to 3, and then 4, and then 5 is the way that I've been taught and how I tend to do it. Again, you could do 10 reps of each, whatever you have time for if you're just sitting around and I want to give it a try. But most important part is trying to touch the middle, so you're not just going to where the finger extends to, nor near the base of the palm. You're gonna get a bit more burn by trying to curl it and touch the middle. And keep those other fingers up, which I'm having a tough time doing, as you can see. It's not easy, but really great little exercise that improves your grip strength. Next up is an exercise that does require a little bit of equipment. So you can either buy this online. I looked this morning and you can buy them on Amazon, called a wrist roller. You can make them yourself at home. Mine here is just basically a stick with a bit of string with a hole that was drilled into it and a knot on either end to keep it in place. Then I have a hook or a carabiner, and I'm going to hook a weight to it. I have a 10-pound kettlebell. I'm going to hook around. And then what I'm going to do, I have the string fully extended outwards, kettlebell on the ground. Again, not the best camera angle for this, but I have my arms perfectly out in front of me, so I don't have them too far up. I don't have them down. I have them straight out. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use my wrist only by curling my wrists. And I want to bring the kettlebell or the weight all the way up to the top. I got it there, and then I'm going to spin it backwards, bring it back down to the ground, not cheating by just releasing it and letting it spin with momentum. I'm keeping control of it and letting my wrist do all the work. And that's one that'll burn out the forearms really quickly too. This is 10 pounds, which is a pretty good weight. I'm sure you could probably bump up to 15, maybe even 20 with a bit of practice in the exercise. But probably one you're not gonna be able to do for a ton of reps, because just like the Goose Necks we looked at, it burns out the forearms really quickly. And after doing a few, you're gonna notice that you're really fatigued afterwards. And the last exercise here does require some equipment as well, but this should be one that we all have at home. Racquetball racket, a broken string, but that doesn't really matter. Cracks on either side of the frame. Wrist tether on for safety. And I have a door frame here, most suitable option, but I'm gonna start with my forehand side. And I'm going to get in position as if I was contacting the ball. So the door frame here is where I'd be contacting the ball right off my front foot. And I'm gonna press it against the frame. And then I'm going to try and rotate and pull through. Taking a step back so I make sure I'm not extended, I'm not too close to the door, just like I would be spaced away from the ball if I was contacting it. And then squeezing it, and I'm trying to rotate through, imagining that I want to basically break through this door frame and through the wall and still get my swing through, which I don't have the strength to do. I'm squeezing hard, and I'm gonna feel it as well as a rotational exercise for my obliques, but I'll throw my forearm, and it's gonna really work my grip if I'm holding it hard enough and tight enough. I'm gonna hold it for, say, 10 seconds, really resisting that nice isometric hold. Afterwards, I really feel that within my forearm. Something I can do, doesn't need a racket, can even use a wooden stick, anything that I can basically prop up against the door frame and squeeze against. I can do the same thing on the backhand side. A little tougher to demonstrate from this angle, but again, if this is my door frame here, and then I'm just trying to rotate through and imagine trying to break through and get my swing through the door frame, and then release like for 10 seconds, 15 seconds, whatever you're comfortable with, but you're gonna notice it within a few brief moments that it's gonna start to burn all throughout your forearm and throughout your palm. Another really common popular piece of equipment for working grip strength is the grip strength trainer. Again, take a look on Amazon, and there's tons of different options out there for 10, 15, 20 bucks. Pick one up. I have one in my house somewhere. I wasn't able to find it. And a lot of the reason I'm doing these videos is to talk about exercises you can do without equipment. I know there's a few instances where I do have some, but all in all, trying to do it with as little equipment as possible, but by all means, pick one up, and it's not a bad thing to throw into your regular mix of a form routine. And just like all the other exercises, you can just have it sitting on your coffee table or at your desk just to squeeze while you're on the phone or taking a quick break. And over time, that's going to do wonders for your grip strength and your forearm strength. And now for a brief recap of everything. Grip strength is going to allow you to hit more solid, powerful shots more regularly, especially when you're in a position that has you reaching or lunging to hit the ball versus being able to get into position and use your normal stroke. Having strong forearm and wrist muscles is also going to be a contributing factor. So it's not just strictly the hand and the fingers and the grip, but also the wrist and those forearm muscles all the way down to that elbow region. And the majority of these exercises can be done without the need to even change into workout clothes. You can do them while you're watching TV. Like I've said a few times, when you're at your desk, if you're sitting at a red light and you can bang off a few reps of some goose necks or some wrist circles, then absolutely have at her. But you're going to feel the burn quickly, so be careful not to overdo it at first and burn out your forearms, or the next few days are going to be not so pleasant, especially if you have to be doing a ton of typing and writing, because it will fatigue your forearms really, really quickly, along with your fingers and your hand and your overall grip, which is what we want, but start slow at first. And of course, like any exercise, and I've talked about before, if you feel any pain that is outside the normal realm of just the strenuous burn of an exercise, stop immediately and take a look at your technique, consult someone that has a little bit more knowledge than you might in it, or pick the exercises that don't cause you any pain and just eliminate the ones that do for now. We don't want to see anybody get injured as a result of doing any of these exercises or activities. But that's all I have for today. Once again, my name is Mitch Braley on behalf of Racquetball Canada. Thanks so much for tuning in. Take care, stay safe, and we'll see you next week.